F43.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is a public meeting of the Indiana Arts Commission Advisory Review Panel, convened to review fiscal year 24 and 25 Arts Organization Support Grant Program applications for Region 1 and Region 4. My name is Brett Roberts. I'm a program manager with the Indiana Finance Authority and past Indiana Arts Commission intern, and I'm happy to be today's review panel moderator. Today is April 25th, 2023. It is 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and we are meeting online and streaming live for applicants and the public to observe. There is no contact between the panel and the audience about the disposition of applications before, during, or after the panel meeting. This meeting will be recorded and made available upon request. At this time, and then staff members to introduce themselves. Panelists will state their name, occupation, and where they are from, and staff will state their title and role. Let's start with the panel. I will start by introducing each of you by your first name so you can share about yourself, including your location. Starting with Ellis.
Hi, my name is Ellis Dumas III. I am currently the Vice President of Programs and Outcomes for the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Northwest Indiana, and I am located in the lovely Northwest Indiana.
Awesome, thanks, Ellis. Next up, Carol Ann.
Hi, I'm Carol Ann, and I live in Michigan City, Indiana. I am currently retired, but consulting. I worked at Columbia College Chicago for 17 years as Director of Exhibition and Performance Spaces and was Chief Curator at the Lebesnick Center for the Arts.
Thanks, Carol Ann. Next up, we have Esther.
Hi, I'm Esther. I'm the proprietress of an art gallery and performance venue in Michigan City, and I'm also an art advocate for the community.
Awesome. Thanks, Esther. Next up, Michelle.
Hello, I'm Michelle Kreinberg. I am the Director of Community Benefit and Outreach for North Central Health Services in Lafayette, Indiana.
Thanks, Michelle. Next is Lynn.
Hi, I'm Lynn Holland, West Lafayette, Indiana. I'm a writer and editor and graphic designer.
Awesome, thank you all. Let's move on to our staff now. So Eric, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Ashby. I am the Grants and Research Manager for the Indiana Arts Commission, coming to you today from Indianapolis.
Perfect. And Andre?
Good afternoon, everyone. Andre Sanxonera, Deputy Director of Operations and Strategic Partnerships, also coming to you live from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Perfect. We also have two regional art partners with us today. Dave with Region 1, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So Dave Micah with South Shore Arts, the Executive Director for South Shore Arts here in Northwest Indiana and Munster, and Regional Arts Partner for Region 1. Pleasure being here.
Perfect. And our Region 4 partner, Tisha, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, I'm Tisha Lee. I am the regional partner of the Arts Federation located in Lafayette, Indiana. Thanks so much for being here.
Perfect. All right. Now we'll begin the panel review. We'll review quickly how the process will work. The panel will discuss each application and the assigned reader will provide a summary of their review before discussion moves to the full panel. Once the panel has completed their discussion, they'll have the opportunity to update their scores. As the panel moderator, I encourage you to be conversational in your discussion. Feel free to ask questions of one another and chime in when you have a thought to add. While we want to be mindful of time and focus on the highlights, I'm also here to ensure the discussion includes each of the 4 evaluation criteria, including organizational excellence, artistic quality, IDEA, and community engagement. If one of our panelists has a conflict of interest with the applicant, they will be placed into the waiting room until we're ready to discuss the next application. And that's all I have for our rules this afternoon. What questions are there before we begin? Seeing none, we will begin. On the screen, We had there a list of applications that will be reviewed today. They're in alphabetical order. Our first application this afternoon is the Art Barn School of Art, Inc. And our first applicant reader will be Michelle. Michelle, you want to take it away?
Sure. So as he explained, it's the Art Barn School of Art, Inc. I'll start out with my feedback in regards to organizational excellence. Just some strengths of the application that I found was that the quality of the art experiences over the 50 years certainly led to the long history and strength of the organization. The partnerships and collaboration to expand to all of the regional constituents was certainly a strength of the organizational excellence, along with the growing financials and revenue streams and the work that's been done since 2018, as explained, and then also the documentation of the strong, diverse board and the strong committee structure that really demonstrated that strong board commitment. In regards to the idea scoring, I would like to say that there was a lot of strength in regards to how you explain the investment in your ADA accessibility and the continuous improvement areas, and that showed us strengths. The accommodations also for hearing and those visually impaired. As we know, IDEA can really take a large gamut and diversity and the way that we're including all markets. Also, how you've reduced the barriers for those low income or those with your no cost programming. And then also just in the general, how you're serving your diverse audiences, but would like to have a little bit better definition, perhaps in strengthening in future, how you define your underserved. So I didn't see that as much in the application for your area. As far as your artistic quality, I would provide some feedback that really I was impressed with the strength of your experience and how highly educated your program manager is with your 20 plus years nonprofit, and your education certainly is strong with the arts. You certainly have your teaching staff is very qualified with a very wide range of education in that area, and really the breadth of the way that you provide the programming for your youth all the way up to adults. And then finally, in your community engagement, I would provide feedback that you really are running your organization utilizing data to make decisions by surveying your audience and then utilizing that for how you can provide that effective entertainment in your area. Once again, your community collaboration really I saw throughout your application, and how you're working with public and your nonprofit partners. And then you really are meeting your community where they are, whether it's in parks or retirement communities, with your land trust. So multiple different types of partnerships.
Thanks, Michelle. That was a great overview. Other panelists want to chime in here?
So I too agree with your portion in regards to the idea. Just like Michelle echoed, I love the piece, or I appreciated knowing the details in regards to serving different backgrounds and specifically serving the low income. The opportunity was there to really understand and define the underserved community and what it looks like Michelle pointed out, but the content of serving it and the intention behind serving it, the low income with the free program really spoke to how you're identify the need in the community and then tackle that need directly on. So I found that this application provided very good detail in regards to that.
Perfect.
I also
Thanks,
found that this application was well written and well considered, and I answered most of the questions thoroughly. I really liked their cross-marketing to get access to new communities. I thought that was an interesting and strong thing that they've done, and I thought they gave a real good breakdown of how their different demographics are served down in the IDEA part. So I thought this was a strong application.
Carol Ann, Esther, do you have anything to add?
For some reason, I'm not able to look at these applications. And I don't know why.
I'll have
mean,
Eric contact you offline to connect you
Okay.
and make sure you can.
I mean,
get
I can
access
go,
to
I
that.
can log on and I can see the second one, the Art Museum of Greater Lafayette, but when I switched back, I could not see the art barn, so I apologize. I
That's
thought
fine.
it was
We'll have
under
Eric.
control.
We'll have Eric touch base with you. Eric, can you help out Carol Ann and Esther? Do you want to add comments while
My only,
Eric-
my only comment is I would concur, and I would also say that I think the attention to making the whole facility ADA compliant is a helpful thing for the community.
Great. Okay. Any other comments related to our first application, Art Barn School of Art, Inc.? All right. I know Carol Ann's going to get set up with Eric there, so we'll move on to our second application, and if we need to, we can come back to Carol Ann's comments. I think we covered all the areas related to the application there, so I think we can move on. Oh, yes, of course. We need to do some scoring. So I'll give you a few moments here to finalize your scores and comments, and we'll go from there. Once you're done scoring, if you could, yep, exactly. If you could give me a thumbs up or stare at the screen intently to let me know that you're done, that would be great. Thank you, Lynn. I see your thumb. Esther, great. Thank you. Thanks, Alice. Oops, sorry. Michelle, are you good on your score? Okay, perfect. We're just working on some technical issues here real quick, and I'm just going to make sure that we have what we need.
And hi, everyone. Yes, we are currently working with Carol on getting her the material sent over PDF. So it's going to take us a couple of minutes, especially to choose the first reader for the second one. So hold on tight for a minute.
If you're just joining us, we are having a bit of a technical difficulty here. We're getting back on the same page to move to our second application, but we'll do that very shortly as we figure this out. Thanks for your patience.
Eric, this is Dave Micah. If you can unmute Carol Ann, I think she's got the screen up, but she can't. She's got to toggle back to unmute her. So if you can, perfect. I think she's good.
Okay, so sorry for this. Books, brushes, and oh no, this is the Greater Lafayette.
One
See,
second, Carol. We're gonna
Yeah.
actually, do you want to add anything about Art and School of Art before we move on?
I can't see that because it
Oh, okay,
disappeared.
that's fine. That's fine. We'll move on then. So before we
Okay.
move to the next one though, we finalized our scores on Art Barn School of Art. We are going to move to Art Museum of Greater Lafayette. However, we do have one conflict of interest. So I'll ask Andre or Eric to, oh, there we go. We've got it. So this is our panel for this discussion due to the conflict of interest. Carol, you're our first reader on this one. So if you want to start going through your comments, and we will jump in other panelists as.
Okay, just give me a second here. Unfortunately, what I have isn't in order to what is being seen by you guys. Well, I felt like that the mission was clearly defined, and they thoroughly executed, and was thoroughly executed as explained in their response. It's apparent that they are a well-established art museum with a long track record of supporters and sponsors, partnerships and volunteers, along with a experienced staff and board members. The AMGL offers a welcoming space that's free and surrounded by inspired works of art and education and practice. Very strong.
All right, thanks, Carol. Who else wants to add to the comments for the Art Museum of Greater Lafayette?
I would. In their organizational section, it might be helpful to know what the plans for the future are under the D financial situation, like what their plans for success are. A little more information on that would have been appreciated. Let me go down. Oops. Let's see. The other thing in the section. Sorry, my computer is kind of misbehaving just a little bit. In the idea section, if I can get to it. In questioning A, I was curious as what they meant, or how the needs to diversify the board are being addressed, and what community groups are involved in the AMGL. Also, examples of the changes they have seen in their audience, because they mentioned that in their narrative. They have great, oh gosh, my computer won't stay on track here. Their long-term goals, great direction. But then again, what are those goals? I would like to see some of those identified. And their description of their audience was really excellent. And I thought, it was a very well presented application with like very examples of significant engagement all around. Thank you.
Thanks, Esther. Can you all hear me now? I think I had a bad connection. Okay.
Yeah, you good.
All right, we're back. Here we are. Thanks, Esther. I got that tail into your comments there. Anybody else who's ready to give their comments?
Yeah, I found this application to their community engagement detail was it was really excellent, very detailed. I could not think of anything additional that one can add to an application in regards to how engaged they are with their community. Specifically under the artistic quality section, I love the partnership with the university that really speaks to the educational programming that they were doing. Whenever you can program at even a higher level in regards to the educational piece, what better than a university, if not the high school or elementary school? So I found that to be a strong aspect of the application. And then when it came to the idea, there was some strong language in regards to gave the direct implementation and grow it. Specifically, a lot of organizations are doing work around idea, including my own. But when you talk about growth and potential growth in the future, this application really did a good job of laying out the plan to go from here, which to me gave some really high thoughts in regards to scoring pretty high, because it's not always necessary to say we've done it, but we have a plan to do it. I thought was really, really, really good. And then the last piece that I really want to talk about is, again, just to echo what was already been said by Carol Ann, is that just significant history and background that creates a proven track record for sustainability and impact. When you know the organization has been around and had that impact over a length of time, provides as a reviewer, it gives me an indication that I would love to see a higher sustainability of supporting this organization for that longer impact and that larger impact. That's what grants are. The goal of our grants is to have a significant impact, not just any impact. So I really found this application to be very detailed on how would funds help sustain this organization or impact this organization's community. And I think they laid that out pretty well.
That's great. Michelle, did you already give your comments? Did I miss those?
No, I think a lot of my sentiments have been shared. I would just, I'll just add a little bit in regards to the community engagement section. I love seeing the multiple collaborations that really show how community and economic development can work together. And it really just strengthens that sustainability point. And then also the impressive commitment to really talking to all types of stakeholders in their planning and their evaluation of their work. But I feel as though the panelists have described some of my other sentiments. So I'm good. Thanks.
Awesome. Great.
Are we going, I guess because I missed the first round and it's my first time doing this, are we going by each section, or was I supposed to speak about the whole application as a whole?
You can kind of organize your thoughts however you'd like. So
okay, because I was doing it piece by piece.
Yeah, that's fine. We try to hit all 4 of those pieces to make sure the applicant knows exactly our thoughts on those.
Okay.
And I'll try to make sure we hit all those, but if you just want to give your broad approach to the application, that's fine too. And we'll make sure we dig into it.
Well, I thought it was exciting to read about their plan of action taking place to address and implement IDEA into the fabric of their organization. I think they've embraced IDEA full force with development of an IDEA board and a DEI consultant, working on strategies of racial and social justice and to identify and improve organizational structure. I think that there's a concerted effort I see in addressing the disability access in all aspects of the museum, the ADA approved, including Braille, large print, signage, gallery sound signage. This section was an excellent presentation and well thought out. The one thing I was saying is working with community groups. Who are they, and how are they included in the process?
Great, that's good feedback, Carol. Thank you. All right, we'll take the next few next minute here to finalize our scores and our comments. So if you could finalize those and then again give me a sign that you have done so, and we'll move on. Thank you, Michelle. Thanks, Esther. Ellis, are you good on your comments? Perfect, great. And Carol Ann, once you're good, we'll move on then.
I'm good.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'll have Eric bring Lynn back in the room. All right, welcome back, Lynn. You missed some more exciting tech difficulties on my end this time, but that's okay. We're going to move on here with the panel. The next organization is the Association of Artists and Craftsmen of Porter County. Lynn, you're our first reader, so if you want to unmute yourself there and take us away.
I have been so confused about this because I'm calling it the Chesterton Art Center, right? It's got a different name than it does on in public usage, and that's been kind of an issue for me all through this process. But there we go. I thought this was a great application. They gave good, complete, clear answers to the questions. What does it do? You know, they divided an interesting way of dividing up their physical examples, being their, you know, their galleries, their library, their classrooms, their gift shop, and their experiential activities, which their classes and their workshops and their camps and stuff. So I really appreciated the way that they broke those out. They had good examples on their partnerships with the Boys and Girls Clubs and the YWCA and their outreach. In terms of importance, they again looked at the issue from several sides. They gave us the soft version, which is the connective, fuzzy, warm, fuzzy community anchor kind of thing, but also the hard version, which is that they create economic support for artists by their activities. So I thought that was remarkable, and it just how it operates. It was seems to work really well with the board and everything, but I thought the wording was particularly winning for this one. They're a small but mighty team of 6, they say. They're a deeply engaged board. The language they're using in their grant is really very positive and very energetic. And I think that says something about how an organization runs. If that's the way you feel about it, it's probably a good place to work and does good work. So I make note of that. On the financial side, they lost $9,000 on a washed out art fair weekend, but then the next year or sometime, I didn't get, the timing was not exactly clear to me. They spent $30,000 on new staff and building upgrades, which it's, you know, that's their budgeting plan, but, you know, since we're looking at their financials, but I thought on the other hand, they have a strategic plan for success, and this was part of it. Getting new staff and getting a better use of their space was their plan for financial success, because it'll allow them to work better. That's what they said. We've poised now for a much more productive and collaborative work environment for the team. The artists we serve benefit from a more appealing and professional exhibition and retail space. So they recognize, and they also say that they recognize that they can't depend on that one art fair that might get rained out, that they have made a plan and are working the plan to diversify their income efforts. And they say they've been successful in getting some new corporate and individual donors. So I thought that was a real strong organizational excellence part. The idea section, it start out saying that they're inclusive and welcoming to all. So, and then they list their specific steps that they've done to get there. So I thought that answered that question quite well. And they're doing economic stuff, the free stuff. They're intentionally building relevant programs to reach underserved audiences. I mean, increasing their board diversity. And so they seem to be addressing that on a lot of fronts. They want to upgrade their facility some more. This is their long-term goal, and they have some good description of need on that, but they're going into a capital fundraising thing by 2025. So that's a big financial consideration that's coming up for them. Their audience, but it's all well explained in the financial part. I thought the idea was good. The audience, they really didn't have specific demographics like, percent stuff. Actually, they used the school corporation as their measure. And they said, the school serves an ever-changing and growing community with shifting needs and demographics. And so that was kind of the demographic profile, which is very true. I don't know that I want more, but I just thought I would comment on that they, it's an interesting way of measuring your demographics by who the school children are and their families. Also, I really, really did appreciate the way they defined their audience by young to old, and then from beginner to advanced. And the intersectionality of those skill levels and ages, I thought really, again, describes everybody and including everybody. And they've, yeah, so artistic, they were founded to support the Chesterton Art Fair, which is now having its 64th year this year. So, and it's a highly regarded juried show. So I think that in itself shows that they are, holding to a high artistic quality. They say that they do over 150 classes, workshops, and camps each year. That takes a huge amount of organization and having good interview processes for getting that many people going. They've got them. They say they've got them.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then community engagement, they have input from students and their outreach partners, and they regularly meet with the community partners, and it seems like they listen and then create new programs or change programs they have based on the listening that they've done. So I thought in all 4 areas they had made a strong application.
Great. Thanks, Lynn. Those are really comprehensive comments. How do the panelists disagree with that? Any other comments?
It was an excellently written grant, I think, and they really did a great job of identifying, incorporating STEM into their response and how they address that in the ADA. Yeah, it was an excellent grant.
Great. Anything different to be said from anyone regarding a really great comment so far? Anything different that hasn't been said yet? All right, well, seeing none, we'll take a few minutes here to finalize your scores. Once your scores are finalized, again, give me that signal, your preferred signal, and we'll go from there. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Ellis. And once we have those, thanks, Michelle, we'll go from there. Carol and Lynn, just give me a sign when you're ready and we can move right on.
I'm ready.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Carol. All right, just a reminder as we move to this next organization here that your comments, keep them kind of high level, highlights of what the application is. We're not trying to get all the way down into the weeds, just kind of the what was really standing out to you in each application. So just a reminder as we move to our next organization, which is the Athens of Indiana Art Studio and Gallery. Ellis, you are our first reader for this one. Take it away. And Lynn and Carol, if you don't mind, if you could mute yourself when you're not talking, just to keep the recording as good as possible. Awesome. Ellis, take it away.
All right. So with Athens, kind of going over the detail, the organization had a strong history. I found that some of the information within the organization's beginning history piece and organizational structure was very detailed. I love that they actually put their rates in there that really explains out how they drive into supporting the community. This kind of went hand in hand with some of their idea work, but to stay in that section, they really laid out the details and the strategic plan, working with their board and their board development, which I found to be good for this application for us to know as reviewers in regards to their application. Also in their, specifically in their idea work, that diversity statement, I found it to be very powerful that he implemented one in July of 2020. They provided details of what it is and how it works within that Wabash community. And then presenting inside of the community group homes and senior plans, make sure that they are diversifying things and serving programs such as like the Day of the Dead and the Malcolm X program within the Wabash College. I found very detailed as to strategically tackling specific portions of the idea work as an organization. The data that was provided also was very powerful and really led me to give some very high accolades in regards to specifically how they laid out that idea information to me. And then for their artistic quality, the post-evaluation form I found was very impactful. They laid out that post-evaluation piece and how they study the artists and the art forms on a monthly basis. So laying out some of the details of the program and education programming that they do. And then the very last piece, the community work, I just found to be sufficient enough. I felt like with the rest of the application, they provided such great detail. Not that they limited in the community section. I would have loved to see some of that detail that they laid out. They gave specific numbers and things of that sort. They did in the rest of the application, but it did not necessarily shy down to where it would have made a reviewer like myself grade them any less or score them any less in regards to it. I just was looking at the theme of this application. I was looking forward to that in that last section. But other than that, overall, I found the details of this application to be very on par with a solid grantee.
Ellis, that was a great summary of all four of those areas. Good highlights. Any other comments from the panelists? Things you agree with? Lynn, go right ahead. Yeah.
I wanted to make a comment that this application talked quite a bit actually about the welcomeness gap that they noted a number of times that they weren't having much luck with the local people. So I didn't quite know how to deal with that. Is whether you give points for the honesty, because probably that happens. Probably it happens a lot. And I know we're not supposed to be compared, but nobody else said anything about that. Or whether it's a matter of just presenting it from a different viewpoint, or not mentioning it and just mentioning what has been a positive interaction. So I just bring that up because it was unusual. Welcome this gap.
Lynn, would you have a suggestion to the organization on how to address that in future applications?
I probably would say find the positive in your communications and concentrate on that.
Did other panelists see that as well? Anybody else want to comment on that piece?
Well, I thought that they understand the challenges that they have, and that they need to seek ways to overcome those obstacles. My suggestion was to research other rural communities around the country and in Indiana and how they successfully met those challenges. Yeah, that's it for them.
That's great feedback. Esther, I saw you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, no, I'll just say I appreciated the very concise look at their challenges. And that's my only comment.
Thanks. Michelle, did you have anything to add on this one?
No, I just like how a small town can utilize their arts organization to really help to beautify the community with their murals. So I liked seeing that, knowing the size of the community that they serve and how they're integrating into the fabric of where people live.
Awesome. Thanks. Any other comments before we finalize our scores? Seeing none, I'll give you a few seconds here to finalize your scores. As Michelle is indicating, give me a thumbs up or a good stare when you're ready. Thanks, Esther and Ellis. Thanks, Carol. Lynn, we're good. All right. We're getting good at this. All right. So moving then to our fifth organization here, the Bach Choral Singers. Esther, you're our first reader on this application. So if you want to take it away with your comments, we'll go from there. Oh, it looks like you're muted there, Esther. Sorry.
All right, I'm glad I have a second computer because for some reason my main one is not interfacing properly. Okay, this is the Bach Choral Singers Incorporated. And first I wanted to say I really appreciate the honor and opportunity to review all of these grants, as it's really thrilling to learn about all of the good works happening in Indiana, and Bach is one of them. So in the organizational excellence, and I think that they're they're fulfilling their mission. I thought it was commendable, their growth. They have a growth in a very organic way, and the progression of development from adult to youth to children, adding all those different choirs. And also early on, they were strictly Bach and like Baroque compositions. And then they realized they really needed to expand their repertoire, and they did that. Again, working with talented professionals with guided instruction that they're talking about is really essential to their development and growth. In their narrative, they have a very, very stable support system, and the program is maintaining itself. In the idea section, I think it's really commendable that taking away the financial barriers for participation for the children that have a need is offering a tremendous service. And the free uniforms for the youngest children is also very generous because it allows being part of the group while deciding if this could be their passion. And it's taken away that financial barrier of purchasing that uniform. It was wonderful when they stated that the younger singers are joining the adult choir, which means to me it's a confirmation that changing their repertoire has really benefited them in drawing a new generation, and honoring the older members in regards to mobility and vision concerns really allows for the ease of their participation. And I think anything that encourages multi-generational mixing and learning from each other is really of great benefit to everybody. I would have liked just a little more interest or information on the actions being taken to encourage a broader range of singers. And while stating though that they did say that they're implementing a variety in their repertoire that will develop a wider interest, and the wider their interest, the more people will join in. I thought they had I thought it was a solid idea to find alternate venues and situations to offer wider variety within the musical realm to the community, and getting out into those more unusual circumstances will bring them more attention. Artistic quality. I love that all children are accepted as it's a wonderful service, and having the professional staff to give them the greatest opportunity to succeed is vital. And then I really liked the way they described the care and tending of their adult chorus. It really shows a dedication toward excellence, and that's really a model that can inspire their youth choruses. And I appreciated their talking about their re-audition process. It's a really good model as well. And I really do hope, and I didn't get it from the narrative necessarily, I hope that children's, youth, and adults are able to interact in some sort of fashion. As I stated before, I think the multi-generational engagement is an excellent thing. On the community engagement, I think the phone calls and the dinners are amazing. They're great unifiers and offer a really wonderful bridge to their supporters to become more engaged, and they've found that out. And speaking with the chorus, as well as the audience is a really balanced approach. And lastly, it was extremely encouraging to hear the cross support between the organizations. Unfortunately, the video link was on some sort of private setting, and I couldn't view the video that they had linked to. But I thought it was, I thought they did a very good job answering the questions that were asked. Thank you.
Thanks, Esther. That was a really good balance of both feedback for future applications and positives for this one. Anything different or new to add to this discussion around the Bach choral singers? Looks like Michelle's good. Lynn's good. Carol, thanks. Ellis, are you good on your end? Awesome. All right. Well, we'll take the next 30 seconds to finalize scores if need be, before we move on to the next one. Once again, just give me a sign. All right, perfect. Great. All right. Well, it looks like we're ready to move on then. So we've made the full round. All of you have been first readers on one application, which means we're just moving through this. Just to get a reminder to keep your comments high-level highlights of each area. Feel free to add comments after the first reader for things that you might have disagreed with or things that you want to amplify once again. So moving on then to our sixth application, the Beachfront Dance School, Inc. Our first reader on this one is Michelle. Michelle, go ahead.
Excellent. So reviewing the Beachfront, I would like to say around their organizational excellence that they, once again, are serving all the people in the area. I really appreciated their remarks around the athletes and how important incorporating those dance techniques into the athletes. And of course, those have variable abilities and ages too. Very strong utilization of their board. Once again, appreciating that good committee structure and also the voice of the parents. I liked seeing that I always like saying, getting that voice of those who you serve on as part of your board too. I love seeing their financial plan with multiple income streams. So that shows some diversity. So if there happens to be a rainy day, you have multiple streams from a sustainability perspective. Looking at the idea part of the application, I really liked the Pay It Forward program and how that is such a great outreach for those who are age 55 plus, and really specifically serving those of color and lower income, and how they're really looking at the health of those that they serve and elevating those with issues, and how can, once again, the arts help to help those combating all the different health issues. Those with the special needs, so their programs in the ballet and tap area, I appreciated reading more about that. So once again, many different avenues that they're serving and accepting all the people in the community. And an aspect to the artistic ability. Wow, Ms. Hawkins has quite the vast array of training. It was quite impressive to see. She's been all over the world. I would love to have a cup of tea and learn all about her travels. But really success within the dancers and how they have gone through all of the programs really shows strong evidence of competence and operations and instruction. So I would have some ability to know that it's a reliable program there. And as far as the community engagement, really a strong evaluation of the programs. I loved how they look at those suggestions and really how they review them on quarterly to see if they need to change any of the structure or what's going on. Showed great accomplishment in the dance in their programs and really looking at how they're going out into the communities, sharing their talents and encouraging others to join them.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. Any new or additional comments for this organization, Beachfront Dance School? Lynn, go right ahead.
I really liked what I thought were unique fundraising ideas, where they, especially the one where they sponsor a particular student's classes for a whole year or 2 years. And that's, I thought that was great. In the ad book, I didn't like that the students were required to sell a certain amount, but that's my own personal bias. I also, and the kindness fundraiser, I thought those were all really great ideas for different kinds of fundraising. Also, I really liked the way that they met the diversity needs with dance by making classes for special needs and for restorative bar for seniors and for in the praise thing. I mean, those are all idea ways of addressing dance, addressing the diversity. I thought that was really commendable.
Awesome. Thanks, Lynn.
Mhm.
Ellis?
Just wanted to add that at the very beginning, I really love the details they provided as to how they function and recover from COVID. That's been one of the biggest pieces that I think the society as a whole was impacted, especially most of the arts. And so seeing the organization and how they come from COVID talks to that sustainability and ability to bounce back from barriers. So I appreciate that in this application.
Thank you. Carol Ann, Esther, do you have anything else to add on this one? Things to change?
No, I mean, extremely high praise for everything. It's really an exemplary mission and inclusion. But on the idea section, and I don't know if this happened for everybody, but I only seem to have only half of it loaded. Like I don't like A and B of that A section was answered, but nothing after that appeared on mine. That's sort of where it ended. So I don't know if that was, it just didn't get loaded in on their end, or I didn't get the rest of the loaded on that. So that's my only comment.
Okay, yeah, I'll have Eric take a note of that and get with you afterwards if we need to update something there. So
Great,
thanks for
thank
that
you.
comment. All right. Seeing no more comments on this, I'll ask that you take the next 30 seconds to finalize your scores. Ellis already has a thumbs up there. Once you do have those up, thanks, Esther. We'll move on. Thanks, Michelle. Lynn, thank you. Carolyn, once you have your comments done, okay, perfect. Great. Look at us go. All right. So we are now moving to number 7, which is books, brushes, and bands for education. And Carol Ann, you are our reader on this one. So if you want to pull up that application and start us on your high level comments on each of those areas.
I thought that the mission statement, or I think the mission statement lacks a bit of action in terms of commitment and engagement, and because it's a gateway statement to the organization, I felt like it needs revision. However, it was mentioned that the board is looking at that, and so for the future. I also had a question about instruments for students. In terms of, do they have to pay for rental, or do they get instruments for free? Otherwise, I felt it was a strong presentation there. I think that, or the very strong artistic quality in terms of defined and supported instruction and goals for improvements, and that was well demonstrated. Let's see. They have close relationships with college and the universities in the area, and year-round internship program would be a great addition, I thought, to reaching the outlined goals that they had set forth. I think there's genuine strides towards re-engagement and refocusing after several years of hardship. So a vision of education and art partnership, as well as mentoring, is an essential part to this organization's success. That's it.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Carol Ann. So really great comments. One around the mission statement. Was there any other constructive feedback from folks on the mission statement piece at all? If not, you're free to open up to any other comments that, any great highlights or things for improvement. Ellis, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to highlight the community engagement piece. It's always great to see when an organization ties in the government and schools at the same time. I thought that was very impactful and powerful, because that, again, speaks to impact. And that's what we wanted the arts to show impact in the community, especially in communities and in some school systems where they've unfortunately had to dial back those the arts. And so I thought that was really, really strong. In regards to that first section, I didn't have any I would say, areas of opportunity. I thought that the organization provided some depth of the history and the mission of the organization and how they've grown and how they've impacted, and based on their details of the organization's revenue and things of that sort, I thought it was pretty significant in comparison to where they stand as an organization overall. So I thought it was a pretty significant impact.
Awesome. Any other comments? Michelle, go ahead.
Yeah, I think overall it was a strong application. I would have liked to have seen a little more data or metrics to align with some of the statements that they've made, just to show the impact. They talk a little bit about it, but without numbers, not knowing kind of what does the breadth of that look like. So just to strengthen the application, I would have liked to have seen kind of what those numbers look like in each of the areas.
Great feedback. Yeah. Anything else on this one here? And just to make sure, I don't have a check mark next to the idea area. Did anybody have any comments on the idea section of this application for improvement? All right, that's all right. Just wanted to make sure. Well, if there's nothing else, we'll take the next 30 seconds to finalize our scores. Once again, once you have that done, give me a thumbs up. Thanks, Ellis. And we'll go from there. Michelle, I got yours. Esther, thanks. Thanks, Lynn. Carolyn, whenever you're ready, just give me a sign. Perfect. Thanks, Carol Ann. All right, we're moving on to our 8th organization now, which is the Cass County Arts Alliance. Our reader for this one is Lynn. So Lynn, if you want to take it away and start with your kind of high-level overview of each of these areas, and then we'll have the other panelists jump in. Looks like you're muted there, Lynn. Yep, perfect.
Oh my, Cass County Artist Alliance. Well, they have a very clear mission statement. And then they repeat that for all of the other areas without any more detail or plan. Or so I didn't really feel like, but however, it was kind of an interesting application because they said specifically what the answer to each of these questions was, but it was a one sentence thing. There, as I said, no detail, no backup, no forward, no future, no plan, no nothing on any of them. And so they didn't answer any of the, I mean, they did answer all of the questions, but they didn't give us any detail.
Okay. Lynn, do you have any feedback specifically on any of those areas, like ways they could, I know that's a broad question, and other panelists feel free to jump in, but if there's anything else that you could suggest to them in future years for them to use.
Well, I mean, I think, as I said, I think their ideas are great. So it sounds like a fun time and great activities, but you have to tell us, if you want the money, you have to tell us how you're going to do it and who's going to do it and how it's going to work. And so that, I mean, I'm not arguing any of their what they say they want to do, but they just didn't tell us how they were going to do it. Yeah, be more detailed. Give us some examples.
Yeah, that's good feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Other panelists, anything to add to this? Any other words of advice for this 8th organization here?
Yeah, I was going to add, I had the same sentiments as Lynn. I would have liked if they provide some more in-depth content in regards to the organizational excellence and the population they serve, how they plan to expand the arts, the population they serve, even how maybe they engage their current board. I look for some of those details to be able to articulate or understand how the organization works. Each section, I struggle with the same thing as Lynn did with understanding the detail behind it. And then again, we're not talking about having a full-on novel, but some content in regards to kind of those categories and the work that has been done, they plan to do, and very much so the how, pretty much as simply as I put it.
Awesome. Thanks for that feedback, Ellis. Esther, Carol Ann, Michelle, anything to add? Michelle, go ahead.
Yeah, just the attention to detail, more I'm data driven. What does the evaluation look like? What are any of your process or continuous improvement methods that you might have in place to ensure that you're providing that high quality excellence? There was a positivity that you do have a very limited barrier to entry, so it is free and accessible to all. So I did appreciate seeing that in the application, but overall, just a little more detail about your board governance, who's on your board, what's the qualifications to be on your board, and just in general, more data, I think would have made this a stronger application to back up your statements.
Awesome. Esther, Carolyn, anything additional to add to the already great comments we've had?
I'll say, I appreciated, and the only way we could even find out what they do is through the links that they provided, which is not what we're using to base the grant on. We're using their words. So they are doing enough really good works in their community. I just hope in the future I hope that they just express it more thoroughly, because they have, their work is there. I mean, they're showing us what they're doing. They're just not telling us.
Right. Any other comments from the panelists on Cass County Arts Alliance? All right, well, we'll take 30 seconds then to finalize your comments and scores. And once you have that finalized, give me a thumbs up, and we'll go from there. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Esther. Ellis, we got yours. Carol Ann, we got yours. Awesome. All right. We'll move on to our 9th organization here, which is the Community Theater Guild / Chicago Street Theater. And Lynn, you're our first reader. I'm so sorry. Ellis is your first reader. Sorry. I got to keep you on your toes somehow here.
I was wondering, I was like, oh, maybe it changed. Okay. All right. So very simple put, some of my comments, I like that they laid out the details of their volunteer board, how many, and how they go forth, the details in the history in regards to their full-time manager, and the part-time staff and how long they've existed. I really enjoyed the details in their idea section in regards to the population they serve, the adults, the seniors, students under 21, military, and then they broke down the ethnicity. I thought that was amazing in this particular application, because it's good for us to know how the impact that circles for the bigger portion of the grant and how we're serving people. They really went into some significant detail in regards to the educational activities. As a person who does programming, I thought this was probably by far my favorite section of their application, because they talked about what their theater school specifically offers and how it's comprehensive and the very detailed of the curriculum. And then the last portion in regards to community engagement, I highlighted very specifically their Summer Shakespeare and Central Park Plaza and how they offer that free to the community. I think it really speaks into detail as to their intent to serve the community, and how they're planning to revive something that unfortunately got away, which is their Thursday Talk series, which really creates that community discussion. Whenever you can get the community in to really weigh in on how your success and the progression of your success is going to look, I think that makes you impactful as an organization. And then the last piece that I'll say is they really talked about their membership with the Valpo and Duneland Chamber of Commerce. I know many Chamber of Commerce looking from a business aspect, but don't think its organizations as a part of that business aspect, when really we're starting to discover as a society that the quality of life in regards to, in general, is how it's playing into business. And so being able to be there and speak to some of those aspects that are not just revenue generators, it's always good, and tells me that you are doing everything possible as an organization to really integrate yourself in every aspect of community, not just the traditionals for organizations as such. So I found this application to be very good, very detailed, provide me with some huge impact without going into too many specifics.
Ellis, that was a great overview. Thank you. Any additional comments to add on top of that, or anything you disagree with that you want to talk about now? All right, looks like Ellis did a great job summarizing everyone's thoughts there. So we'll take about 30 seconds here to finalize your scores. I got a thumbs up from Michelle. So when I see thumbs up from everybody else, oh wow, we're still on it. All right, so we are on our ninth, we just finished our ninth application. So we're about halfway through. We've been at it for about an hour now. If we want to take a break, is there a consensus for like a 5-minute break here, or do you want to plunge ahead? Anybody want to break? Okay, we're running. Is that all right with everybody? I see everybody shake of head, which means I can go ahead. All right, so we will offer that maybe around 15 then, just in case we all get tired at that point. But let's go on to our 10th application now, Dunes Arts Foundation, Inc. Esther, you're our first reader, and you are free to take it away. Esther, it looks like you're on mute if you're speaking to us.
Yes, I am. Thank you. It's because my dual computer here. In regards to their mission statement, it's and this is just, it's probably a nitpicky thing. I don't really think they needed to start with the prelude. I think they just needed to state their mission statement, not about, I think there were other places in the narrative for that beginning part. So that's like such a minor thing, but I noted it. So my notes were they have really solid programming with extremely dedicated community support. I would like a clearer understanding of what type of subsidy of tuition and admission is offered and how potential audiences would know about that. They have a really wonderful history in their narrative of managing and improving all the working parts of the facility. And they really, and I'm going to stress again, they have extremely admirable community support that has really allowed for the growth and expansion and to help them meet their strategic goals. In idea, I would have appreciated in the narrative some examples of what they identified in regards to increasing the diversity in their committees and the direction of their search for a wide variety. The direction of them searching for a wide variety of plays is really exciting, and I think that helps so much, is just broadening what we see rather than repeating all the things that have been offered in the past. Again, they had mentioned subsidies, but they don't mention what they entail. I didn't see the why is it important answered in their narrative. For the how does it operate to carry out its work, my questions were, how are you reaching out and what do you hope will happen? What are your goals? I didn't see those identified clearly. In the portion of the financial situation, I don't think that was even really addressed. And in that final financial situation, that it would have been good to include in the narrative, knowing how various communities with financial challenges are able to see productions with their families. There was something mentioned in there, but not how that's going to happen. And so I really feel their goals are admirable, but like additional tangible information would have been helpful, as well as applying the numbering system to their answers, which helps clarify what is actually being answered, is always really helpful. In the artistic quality, I think it's really sensitive programming and they have excellent credentials that they're presenting. Community engagement. On that, I'm asking, what are the specifics as to how the information is put to use to help the theater? There's these they're like blanket comments, but no examples of what is the plan. And then that said, for the B portion of that in the community engagement, let me get to it. They have a very robust community plan, and the long existence of the Dunes Art Foundation and the upgrades to the theater and the outbuildings and the grounds, plus the readings on the website that they did, and the former theater students who are now on the board, really demonstrates a really strong commitment to the experience that they offer. So there were just a few little things I questioned, but I think it's a very strong telling of the Dunes Art Foundation.
Thanks, Esther. That was a good summary with some
Thank you.
things for improvement and some highlights as well. Lynn, go ahead.
Just a quick note that I did write down here that I found importance was the actors and technicians are paid for their work, which is isn't an important thing.
Great
There might
feedback.
have been other importances, but that's the one I took note of.
Great feedback. Yeah. Any other feedback? We had a lot of areas for improvement, maybe some positives on the application overall as well. Anything else to add?
I'd noticed that they had a 5-year strategic plan, and they seem to have a well-planned calendar for working things out, getting the work done. So I thought, I was also interested to note that they have a retired banker in charge of their financials now, which can either be great or terrible, depending on what side of your tail you're sitting on. But at any rate, they did note that they have somebody who has that expertise working on grant writing, fundraising, and marketing. They say they have a plan to increase pay. I'd like to know what that plan is.
Great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great feedback overall between Esther and Lynn. Does anybody else have any comments to add on top of what's already been said?
Yeah, I just have an additional comment. I didn't want it to sound negative at all. I don't feel negative. I just wanted to point out the places where I thought they could improve the narrative in the future. But I think that they're doing a fabulous job.
Absolutely, yes. These are all for everyone to improve applications in the future, as well as feel good about themselves now. So I appreciate how you've structured your feedback, Esther. So with nothing else, it looks like we'll go take 30 seconds, finalize your scores and your comments in the system. I saw a thumbs up from Michelle, but if I get a thumbs up from everybody else as we go. Thanks, Carol Ann. Thanks, Esther. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Ellis. All right, we are just really on top of our game now. It took us 10 applications, but we're here. All right, so we're going to move now to the 11th application for the Love of the Arts, Inc. Michelle, you're our first reader for this one, so take it away.
Excellent. For the Love of the Arts, Inc., I will review and begin with the where we're excelling from an organizational perspective. It looked like there were definitely some strong organizational structures in place and financial opportunities. I thought it was impressive, the tremendous outreach that you are doing with the high-risk kids and providing an outlet for creativity. I feel oftentimes that is forgotten with those kiddos, and really the way that you're incorporating basic life skills for kids and adults to have that creative outlet and space. From an idea principle, I really appreciate how you're utilizing the principles in general, but also creating those listening sessions to inform your strategy and programming, because it's one thing to listen, but then to actually do something with it, I think is impressive. And then, helping to break down the barriers again and meeting people where they are. You are seen as a community convener and seem to be responsive to the needs of those that you serve. As far as your artistic comments, I would say definitely it looks like you are bringing in your highly qualified leaders to provide your creative experiences, including bringing a licensed counselor into your fold as you're helping those kiddos. So really being able to look at all aspects of the whole person, I thought was a positive. The continuous improvement with your initiatives, including professional development and finding a place for that to happen. And then just your evaluation. I know people continue to hear me say, but I feel like evaluation and being able to continue to improve is important for sustainable organizations. From your community engagement perspective, Once again, your listening sessions to form, your organization's programs and services, having a two-way conversation. So a lot of times it's easy just to receive surveys, but really to have those conversations and to receive it in multiple modes will help to sustain those relationships for long periods of time.
Great summary, Michelle. Thank you. Other comments on top of what Michelle already has mentioned? Go ahead, Lynn.
This is a question. I really admire this organization for what they're doing and for the directness of their focus on kids involved in the justice system. I am 100% behind that. I love it. But I did question, that's if your focus is so direct on one thing, the whole idea section is about being big and including everybody. So I just bring that up because it was a dilemma for me, thinking I'm glad you're focusing on this particular audience, but then having to give a score on whether you were broadly including everyone. So I don't know what the answer to that is. I just have struggled with it.
Did anybody else on the panel have a struggle with that, or maybe some feedback they could give to Lynn as a part of finalizing her comments here?
I thought it was a really strong application.
Thanks, Caroline.
Yeah, extraordinarily strong as well. Yeah. And I don't really know how to address Lynn's concern other than I think by doing what they're doing and just reading in the narrative, it felt to me that they were incredibly inclusive in general. I mean, I don't know. It was a very really strong application. And I didn't feel that way about it. So
Thanks, Esther.
thank you.
Alice, do you have anything to add here? All right. Anything else before we finalize our scores? All right, well, we'll finalize our scores here in the next 30 seconds. Give me a thumbs up. Thanks, Michelle, when you get there, and we'll move right on. Thanks, Esther. Lynn, thank you. Kaylin, I think I saw you, but I'm not sure.
Yep.
Okay. Ellison, you're good? Perfect. All right. Well, let me mark down my notes here and we'll move on to application number 12, Indiana Ballet Theater Northwest. NW, I assume, is Northwest Inc. Carol Ann, you're our reader. So if you want to take us away with your initial thoughts on each of those categories.
Sure. Well, IBT is a well-established organization. It has longevity and commitment, which is demonstrated in their statement. No information about the board was included. IBD has some financial challenges ahead of them with the Classical Arts Center development, which was a bit unclear. And is there a timeline, or a capital campaign for that? The engagement of volunteers, I thought, was wonderful. In terms of idea and inclusion and commitment to this for a safe place for participants without special labels, I think is clearly a standard for them. In terms of the artistic quality, it meets all the criteria, I believe. Partnerships and supporters are strong as outlined in the response. Legacy, US Steel, the Knight Foundation, dancers that come out of the audience after shows to meet and greet guests is a really positive experience and a great idea. It's unclear to me how Girl Scouts help the IBT gather information, though, to underserved communities that I felt needed to be clearer. Perhaps a link or a QR code in their program might be a way to survey guests and collect information. Otherwise, good job.
Great, thanks, Carol Ann. Other comments from the panel?
So I actually found this application to be very good in regards to the community engagement. It really spoke volumes to me that they were able to serve dancers that have disabilities such as Down syndrome, autism, dyslexia, and cerebral palsy, or having Parkinson's disease. I think that speaks highly to serving a diverse set of individuals, and I'm not aware of a lot of programs out there that do that specifically in regards to and working with them with all body types, particularly in those particular diseases. Dance would be one of the most difficult pieces that they would have to face, but yet and still make it into part of the mission to really tackle that head on. Really speaks to their work. And then also I really drew out the community engagement. It is specifically good to work with other nonprofits like Girl Scouts. And then of course, the local university, and then also providing opportunities for communities that I'm aware of that do not have arts programs in their current school systems, like the Gary Community Schools, and making sure they're able to come out and expose them to a whole new set of things like the Nutcracker and their spring ballet production. I found this very impactful to, again, impact. When we talk about that community engagement aspect, it really lays out in our instructions, what is the impact? And that's what I like to see in applications from organizations.
Esther, I saw you unmuted there. Did you have something to add to the discussion?
Yes,
on this
directly to something, just wanted to add on to what Ellis just mentioned about the Gary Community School opportunity that they had for the children to see the Nutcracker. And this is, again, just something to add in the narrative, possibly in the future. But after that concert, was IBT approached by any of the schools about students who were interested in taking dance classes? And then if a scholarship could be set up for that specifically to allow the children who then become so inspired that they want to give it a try. I would like to, see something developed in that way, or if that is happening, it would be nice to mention it.
Really great feedback. Yeah, that's wonderful. There's like Michelle or Lynn, do you have anything else to add on top of what's been said already? All right. So we'll take 30 seconds then to finalize our scores. Give me a thumbs up when you are good. Thanks, Ellis. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Esther. Thanks, Lynn. Carol Ann, once you're good, give me a thumbs up and we'll go from there. Perfect. All right. So that was the Indiana Ballet Theater. We're moving now to our 13th application, the Lakeshore Community Concerts. And Lynn, you're our first reader on this. So if you want to dive into your high-level comments on each section, and we'll get the panel's discussion right after. And it looks like you're muted, so I just want to give you a heads up before you start.
Lakeshore, they've been doing this since World War II, right after World War II. So they seem to have a good thing going. They do 6 musical acts a year in the Muncie High School auditorium for $75 and free parking. I mean, it's about as simple as you can get. And they are direct. This is what they do. This is what their importance is, to access live music at an affordable price in a convenient place with free parking. And so I think they do that. They do that. It's very clearly laid out that way. They're financial. They say they've been successful meeting the budget needs, and they're working hard on new publicity through social media. But this year they're 5,000 in the red, and they need donations or grants to cover that. So I'd like some more information on what they plan, where the shortfall came from, and what they plan, what their plan is to do about it, other than just grants to cover. The idea section, this relates to what I said before about the specificity of an audience. This audience is 50 to 75-year-old professional to blue collar workers, to retirees, white, middle to upper class. That's their audience. And they specifically know who they are, and they are giving them what they want. And so that, that's good to be supported. but didn't seem to be a lot of outreach to other people. They did mention their idea activities were sending information to senior residences, participating in a night against crime, which is I think is like some sort of public fair, giving a free ticket with the purchase of a season ticket, and reciprocity privileges. Those seem more like marketing actions to me than inclusive, intending to go out and be inclusive. So I think they could probably give more thought to that. They do say they're trying to get more diverse performers, so that's good. Some of the things I would say to the people that wrote this grant, there's some things that were kind of out of place. In the idea section, I saw, or in the next section, which was artistic, I saw that there is a handicap accessible building and free parking, but those were not mentioned in the idea section, which is kind of, an access thing. So putting things in the right place helps when you're writing a grant. Also, there was very little demographics of what the location was. So if there is anybody except retired white people in this area, we don't know it because they didn't give us that information in the grant. As far as the artistic part, they say that they have professionals from many musical genres from around the world. And that's all they really said in that part. However, in the first part, the organizational part, they talked about their board activities and how some of them went to Nashville every year for the talent contest, stage live on stage contest, and that's where they got a lot of their ideas of people to bring. So again, that's part of your artistic process, but you got it in the organizational section. So for grant people writing grants, put it in the right place. That will help.
Good feedback, Lynn.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, continue.
Oh, community engagement. They again seem to be very interested in hearing what their audience and their community has to say, and interacting with their own specific community of their audience. But have not told us about other ways of going out. Actually, that's not true. That's not true. They did say they were going to chambers of commerce, others chambers of commerces, which I guess is pretty much the same audience. So they provide a very specific type of event experience to a very specific audience, and seems like everybody's pretty happy about it.
Thanks, Lynn. That had some good feedback in there and some good positives. Our other panelists, do you have anything to add to that? Do you agree? Do you disagree with what's being said? Carol Ann, I see you're unmuting yourself.
One thing that I thought was strong and I think is overlooked quite a bit is that they cater to seniors. And I thought that was a real positive. In a lot of grants, you don't see that demographic addressed. So I thought that was a positive in their grant.
Thanks, Carol. Other comments? Lynn, it looks like you got it all. You got all the thoughts onto the page there. So we're going to take 30 seconds here to finalize our scoring. Once you have that finalized, give me a thumbs up as we've been doing. Thank you, Esther. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Ellis. Michelle, you're not on it this time. Carol Ann, we got you. All right. Perfect. Thanks, Michelle. So actually, we are going to take a 5-minute break after this scoring. So let's circle back up here at about 3:33, and we'll continue. For those who are joining us on YouTube, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and we'll start back up around 3:33. So everyone, I ask that you turn your cameras off as you walk away, and we'll go from there. Thanks all. All right, we're going to gather back up as people join us back from our short little break there. I hope you all had a chance to get up and walk around, and hopefully it's sunny where you are and you can look outside. So as you return, I just ask that you turn your camera back on and readjust yourself to kind of this last bit of applications we have coming on. For those joining us online, we're just returning from our 5-minute break. We're going to start with application number 14, Miller Beach Arts and Creative District CDC Inc. We're going to give 2 of our panelists a little bit more time to rejoin us here after our break. It's always hard to sit back down after you go walking for a minute or 2. All right, Carol's back. We're just waiting on Ellis now to return with his camera on. We'll begin just momentarily here. For those joining us online. For our panelists, just so you're aware, our next application is Miller Beach Arts and Creative District, CDC. So if you don't have that pulled up on your computer already, I encourage you to do so we can hop right into it when Ellis returns. Ellis is our reader, or I would maybe jump ahead, but. All right, we are back. So Ellis, thanks for joining us again, everybody. We're back with our panelists here. We are on application 14, which is Miller Beach Arts and Creative District, CDC. Ellis, you are a reader, so if you want to start by getting us rolling on your initial comments, and other panelists, you can feel free to add in your additional comments after that. So Ellis, take it away.
All right, sorry, I was reopening my application back up here. So they provided some compelling exemplary examples of the organization's mission, the programs that were in, the history of the program, while they're a volunteer organization. I found that to be very deep in regards to it. The biggest thing I found very compelling in that first section was their consistency with leadership, which unfortunately a lot of organizations struggle with just because COVID really impacted that, and there's a huge need for the workforce. So this providing that detail in regards to their consistency and leadership, I think has spoke highly to their sustainability and ability to continue to grow. One of the things I found in their idea section was that this application put in their actual statement in the idea section, which I found very powerful and impactful. and how they adopted and went about adopting that. Also in the application was some great data, the audience and the community they're serving in regards to different ethnicities, and particularly being familiar with the population or the service area that they service. They actually talked about neighborhoods, and the Etna and Glen Ryan are often specific areas in the community that are not served because Miller Beach tends to draw them out. So I found that to be very impactful. Of course, their programming, they laid out their entire schedule, which I found very detailed and speaks to the planning of the organization and how they do it. And then the last section in regards to having additional funding that they seek also locally spoke to their ability to engage. So the Miller Community Fund also speaks to their engagement in the community, but also their ability to not depend on just this resource to be sustainable. So overall, I found this organization, this application to be very excellent in regards to the details they provided.
Great, thanks, Ellis. Any additional points from other panelists? Michelle?
Yeah, I thought it was a really strong application. Once again, I love the attention to detail. I would have liked to learn a little bit more about the level of mentoring or education that the artists or the people who are leading the work. I love, once again, the idea principles and being a part of the way that you're doing your work to make sure you're aware of serving the community that you so well stated in your application. So good, kudos for that.
Awesome. Good feedback. Any other comments from the panel on comments above and beyond what's already been mentioned?
I think that in terms of the idea portion of it, I think they have the ability to address idea. It's just not clear in their response. So the efforts there, I think, fall a little bit short. But otherwise, overall, I thought it was very good.
Right. Any other comments from the panel? Seeing none, we'll then finalize our, oh, go ahead, Lynn.
I don't know whether this is implicit or explicit bias or what, but Carol, in response to that, they did say that the demographics are 70% quality of life, 78% African-American, 33% poverty. So, I mean, just with those three demographic factors right there, just being there, just working there is being involved in the whole idea of idea.
That's a good point, Lynn. Yeah, thank you. Any other reactions to this application? All right. Well, then I'll ask 30 seconds to finalize your score. Michelle's already on top of it. Gave me a thumbs up. Ellis, Esther, Lynn, Carol, once you're done, we'll move on to our next. Perfect. All right. Finish up my notes here. All right, we're moving to the 15th application which is the North Coast Cultural Association. Esther, you're our reader on this, so take it away. Esther, I think you're muted still.
Yes, the other way we know this organization is the 4th Street Theater. Let's see, and I'm going to start with, their mission statement reads more like a story rather than a concise mission. And I think in the future, maybe taking a look at that would be a good idea, because that's the way it is also presented on their website as a story. I think that they have a very nicely varied use of the theater for the community, opening it up, especially when I read opening it up to other organizations to produce their production, is a great use of their off time for the theater, and it makes it gives smaller companies a really tremendous opportunity to make some of their dreams come true, and maybe that experience will then, give them a solid base for opening up their own company, possibly. So it just can only lead to really good things. And also doing that provides their community with such a wide variety of different experiences. And their 10-minute play festival is really well respected and has grown and grown and grown over the years. And they stated in their narrative, now they're getting kind of worldwide submissions for this 10-minute play. I think it's really brilliant. They really gave a good sense of how their community embraces the theater, and they gave us a good sense of how dedicated their volunteer organization is and the tremendous amount of community support they have. And I thought they had an intact plan for the future. In regards to IDEA, I think working with the Chicago Children's Theater is a really beautiful collaboration. Caregivers are sometimes some of the most forgotten components in a lot of situations, and that they thoughtfully include, the autistic spectrum and their caregivers was very compassionate. Adding the Thursday evening performance was really thoughtful and enriching, as most organizations and community members we really want to support each other, but unfortunately many of our productions happen at the same time. So opening up a day where is not a traditional weekend day was a really wonderful thing. The attempt of casting Ragtime gave the theater really valuable information and future goals, but describing the specifics about what some of those tangible goals are would have been nice to add to the narrative. I think they have really solid goals for change and expansion, and they provided extremely comprehensive statistics. Let me see, where are we? On their audience. Their artistic quality, I think they have a very dedicated technical staff, music and vocal directors, volunteer actors and directors. They provide the skills to maintain a really high quality production. And the fact that they just keep getting these people with these credentials to work with them, says a lot about them. Community engagement. They had how beneficial the use of feedback was for them, but in the narrative, it would be nice to have some direct examples in the part of how partners benefited from working together. It was a very impassioned, dynamic, presented narrative, but the response did not address the question, except I think really I really believe they misunderstood the question rather than misrepresented themselves. I just think that they didn't understand the actual question. Their grant gave me an overall sense of what the company's values were and also what they were reaching for. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Esther. That was a really comprehensive overview of the organization and the application that they presented. Anything that Esther didn't hit on that other panelists would like to add? Michelle or Lynn?
Oh, I was just gonna commend them on their financial performance and for an organization their size to be able to pay off their mortgage, as they mentioned. Their application is impressive for a nonprofit, and also that they're looking forward to build their capital reserves by continuing to make that payment to themselves to not use it in other space, but to really, it's the whole sustainability, which I look for in a nonprofit, and to be able to plan for those rainy days ahead. So congrats on that.
That's great. Lynn?
I'm looking for the wording. I wanted to compliment them on their, they use their small space to become experts in visual perception. That they, should call out that negative in their space and have made it into a positive, again, is indicative of their ability to look broader and make things work.
Great, yeah. Ellis, Carol Ann, anything else to add? All right. We'll take 30 seconds here to finish up our scores. Give me a thumbs up when you're completed that in the system. Thanks, Ellis. Esther, thanks. Michelle. Lynn, thank you. Carol Ann, when you're good, we'll move on then. Perfect. All right. I have a number 16 that says Porter County Government. I've been told we're going to skip over that, if that's correct. So we're moving then to 17, which is Regional Performing Arts Company. Carol Ann, you're our first reader on this one. So if you want to unmute yourself and take it away. Carol, I think you might be muted.
Sorry, am I here now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
They're a small regional performing arts company, and it's all volunteer driven, which I thought was pretty impressive. I think they've demonstrated a commitment to youth through the enrichment of theater. There's a clear understanding of their mission. Regional partnerships and sponsors support the RPAC. I was wondering about who are the board members and what part of the community they're from. In terms of idea, the regional is striving to make admissions free for audiences, or at least affordable. It's unclear about what participation costs mean. Is this for classes? It's not clear. Inclusion and diversity are not well defined in this response. Also, no mention of children with disabilities or disability access. I would suggest taking a closer look at the notion of idea and being more specific, perhaps sitting down with their board and brainstorming. They could maybe better meet that criteria. A survey of the playbill is an excellent idea. I said, what ways and feedback is that helpful or used? What is it telling you about your audience? Civic partnerships with regional has served the community well in expanded programming and audience exposure. Giving back to the community is also your community will reward you. That's it on that.
All right. Thanks, Carol Ann. Anything that needs to be added on top of Carol Ann's comments for Regional Performing Arts Company? Esther, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a quick one for community input, and it's kind of one that we've all echoed numerous times in the grants is instead of using general broad statements, some examples would really go a long way. Like in this one, it would be, how have the responses informed future productions? I would really like to know how feedback is utilized in a, in a practical, quantifiable way, I guess. And that was my only comment. So thanks.
Thanks, Esther. Anything else that needs to be added on top, Ellis?
Yeah, I just wanted to say in this idea section application, I was looking for more. They mentioned about serving specifically the LGBTQ plus community, which I think is great, but didn't go into too much detail as to any additional communities or even expanding and improving the service of that community and then the work thereof of idea. So I would have loved to see a little bit more in that section for this particular application.
Awesome. Good feedback overall. Any last comments for the Regional Performing Arts Company? All right, we'll take 30 seconds to finalize your scores. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready to move on. Thanks, Carol Ann. Thanks, Ellis. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Esther. Thanks, Michelle. All right. So now that we finalized that score, we're going to move to application 18, Top 20 Inc. Lynn, you are our reader on this. So if you want to unmute yourself and go through your high-level initial comments on each area.
Top 20 dancers. This is another really strong application, I thought. And when I went to look at their, after I'd read it all, I went to look at their website, and their banner picture is a moving video of a group of preteen girls dancing. And it was like such a fabulous encapsulation of the whole spirit of this grant. I thought that they had done a nice job of putting the spirit of the place in that web banner, but also it comes through to me in this writing as well. I like the way they put together dance mentoring, community service, and field trips. That's their mission, and they're all together, and they explained why they all work together and what makes them work together. And I thought that was really commendable. I love also that their input, they listened to their input, and which led into the creation of additional programs. They found out that their dancers couldn't fill out the forms because they couldn't read, and so they developed a literacy program. I mean, they just took the need that was right in front of them and went on and did it. So I thought that was commendable. Their importance is just real down to earth. I mean, it gets kids up off the screens and moving. So just recognizing the very basic need for that's not warm and fuzzy. That's just a basic human need. Get up and move around. I appreciate that they have surveys and a way to measure. They had measurements in their survey, so they have a way to measure their results. And they found a positive change in self-esteem of the students in their program. So you can't get any better than that when you can measure your results and it's positive change. So they don't have any paid staff. How it works, they don't have any paid staff, but the board is composed of former members of the troupe, of the top 20 dance troupe, which again, when you have your students coming back to give back, that's a real strong indicator of a good mission, a good organization, a good way things are running, because people want to come back and keep providing that experience for other people. So they got good bios of their top people. I appreciate that the president had experience implementing programs and budgets. And I appreciate also that they cooperate with the school district for the use of the facilities, free use of the facilities, office space, storage space, assisting with transportation and recruitment. And again, these people I made this comment about another grant, they use the school system and the students in the school system as their measure of their demographic, which is an interesting way to do it. But they're trying to grow and hire paid staff, but they're in a low income area, so they can't charge a whole lot of tuition. So they've got a strategy going. They want to fundraise and grants, but they need this grant to hire a contractor to help them with the strategic plan so that they can get more going. So it's kind of a long road, and but that's what they said they were going to do.
This has been great feedback, Lynn. Anything else to wrap up your comments?
Yeah. Wait, I'm only
sorry.
The first part. Okay. Again, as I said, the audience or the idea, they use the school, the people that are in the school and their families. That's their demographic, and they cater to them. That's great. Artistic, they have some good examples in that section of the way they build on their excellence comes from building on levels of dance and then going to field trips so that they can see professional dancers, and then dancing with other troupes so they can see what that cooperation is like. And then in the community engagement session, I was impressed. They got a community school committee, which has been going on for 4 years, and they've got groups from the community health people, the workforce development people, churches, the government people, the social organizations, and parent groups, and they all meet together. And their example was that during COVID, they all continued to meet via Zoom, and they were like, "What can we do?" And so each organization took something that they could do to address, the mental health needs of students grounded by COVID. And this organization started doing virtual dance and exercise classes. So, they used their strength to address that situation. They also used a grant to do an urban nutcracker, which led to collaborations with other dance groups and other organizations. So they have made a point of doing community. They made some good examples of community engagement and how they grow those engagements into other things. Good, strong application.
Great feedback, Lynn. So we heard a lot of positives. Is there anything on top of what Lynn already mentioned that wasn't mentioned, or any feedback for changes in the future that you'd suggest to this organization? Lynn, look at you. You just hit all the good points everybody made. Well, seeing no other comments, I'll just ask that you take 30 seconds to get your scores. And once you have done that, give me a thumbs up. Thanks, Esther. Thanks, Michelle. And we'll go from there. Thanks, Ellis. Lynn and Carol, once you're ready, just give me a sign. Oh, perfect. Okay. So we are now moving on to our 19th application, which I might butcher the name of. I'm going to say Tao Performing Arts Company. And Ellis, you are our reader, so take it away.
Yes, what an amazing application. Organization celebrating their 20th anniversary season, which speaks to their longevity. Talked about their connection with local elementary schools and so on. I love the part in regards to how the youth ensemble have gone on to study at some of the top universities. So it speaks to how well their program is producing amazing artists going from there. Their idea work, I did put in regards to some comments that I kind of spelled out in regards to their idea work, was more so on lines of really serving the Latinx population in Hammond, as well as the ESL and LGBT community. They really laid out some of the details and really spoke to their community. Not always can you speak to one ethnicity, but based on the makeup of that community, really spoke in high detail about. The other big aspect they really talked about, broke down some pieces in regards to the programming. They did talk about their
It looks like Ellis might have, is this the same or am I having, oh, okay, I can see everybody else move, okay. Looks like Ellis dropped off a little bit. We're gonna, I'll just ping that for the Indiana Arts Commission people to get with Ellis. I'm gonna say any other panelists have some comments as we wait on Ellis to rejoin us here. Michelle, I saw you kind of shake your head earlier on something, but maybe I was reading too much into.
Oh, I was looking at the artistic quality, and just to kind of continue that there's been a nice job in investing in quality. It seems as though it's definitely paying off with the increase in their new subscribers to their programming. Yeah, and I always like to see where they're engaging the municipalities along with nonprofits to provide that continued growth in their organization. So just to continue maybe where we lost Ellis in the review application, those were just some thoughts that I had on the fly.
Great, thanks, Michelle. I put you on the spot there. Any other comments? Carol, I saw you unmuted yourself.
I think that by an associate director, I think will help them a lot in achieving what they'd like to accomplish. I also thought a real positive was the acknowledgement of the LGBT plus community and the BIPOC as well.
Okay, Ellis is back. Hey, Ellis, we kind of moved on after you got cut off, but is there anything else you want to add? Anything you felt like you really needed to be heard?
No, perfect. I was finishing up anyways in that community aspect, so perfect. Sorry, I don't know what happened.
Oh, that's fine. It happened to me. It happens to the best of us. So any other comments beyond what Michelle, Carol Ann, and Ellis have provided? All right. Well, again, 30 seconds here. Finish up your scoring. Let me know when you're done, and we'll move on to our last application. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Esther, Ellis, Michelle, and Carol. All right. So Esther, you have the great honor of introducing our last, or reading our last organization here, which is the Valparaiso Creative Council, Inc. So with that, Esther, I'll let you unmute yourself and take it away.
Yeah, thank you. This is this was a very strong grant. They, they're really working toward and fulfilling their mission, probably even more than they had originally set out to. It's really they started out with a small idea that has just expanded to like infinity. They're providing a vital resource for artists with having all the resources gathered in one easy to use space. If you have a computer, I guess. I'm not really sure what they do beyond if you don't have a computer, how you can access their information. But from their narrative, they have a very thought-provoking, attainable goals with a solid trajectory and vision. That was like very clear in their narrative, all the things that they are planning and achieving. So much for artists and other community is all about opportunity and the easy accessibility to information to the greatest amount of people always facilitates many more opportunities that can be seized or enjoyed. So just their whole purpose is really serving so much more than the community, the immediate community that they started out wanting to advance. Really commendable is the Valparaiso City's involvement with the VCC. They have really, really embraced this to a gigantic degree, wanting to make Valparaiso an art destination and giving opportunities for artists in that community to express themselves. And as that organization continues to grow, so will the offerings to the community. I thought they answered each of the questions really thoroughly in the organization part. Now for idea. Again, really comprehensive, clear statements showing extremely admirable growth. Now for the, why is it important? I would have in the narrative liked to have had, they keep talking about their board diversity. I would really like examples of what they mean by their board's diversity. How does it operate? They have, again, an obtainable trajectory. And in the what might we need to change, they're saying when they're talking about, let me get to this point, I'm sorry. It's a long narrative. I have to like, with all their phases of their plans, which are so interesting. Let me get to the part I want to address. Well, I don't want to take up so much time trying to find exactly what I was mentioning, but I have diversifying ideas within the group or reaching out to the community. So they must have mentioned something about diversity, and I wasn't sure whether they were talking about within their own group or reaching out to the community. And I appreciate that reaching out for feedback will be carried out in multiple ways, including phone calls. Artistic quality. My only comment would be to clarify what is meant by diversity in the statement. Are they referring to the actual board's diversity, and what does that include? Or are they attempting to keep inclusivity in mind when directing projects? And this is the statement. The VCC has a robust board of individuals whose expertise in specific arenas strengthens our organization and diversity, including the artistic selection process. All great words, but I would really like to know more specifics again. Community engagement. They answered both questions thoroughly, I thought, due to their clear goals and their phase plans and the collaborative processes they have instituted. And that's what I have. Thank you. It was a good application.
Great. Thanks, Esther. Anything else beyond Esther's comments on this one?
I would also, it was unclear to me about their diversity on the board, or is it something that they're developing in terms of other committees. That was unclear to me. And also, I was curious as to whether the city of Valpo, if they receive any money from them and any funding from them. That would have been nice to know.
Any other comments? Thanks, Carol Ann. Yeah, Lynn.
I wondered about the money from the city as well, Carol. And I wondered just in a larger picture, and doesn't really, I mean, specific to this grant, but specific to many other grants, what the political correctness of using resources from a city or from a school district, which are publicly funded, taxpayer funded things, and arts organization getting grants, working with those resources. I don't know what the legalities of all of that are, using those kinds of public sources for a resource. Just comment.
I know that working on the Michigan City Public Art Committee, we apply for grants, and the city is considered a nonprofit. So I don't know if that sheds any light.
It's an interesting comment, Lynn and Carol Ann, and I might refer them to local counsel or legal counsel, or maybe to the IAC for other resources, but it's an interesting point that's brought up. So I appreciate that. Any other comments on the last application here, Valparaiso Creative Council? Lynn, go ahead.
I also wanted to say I really appreciate that one of their main things was putting together a website of events and resources. We have really struggled with that in Lafayette. When we lost our daily newspaper and our weekly newspaper, there was no place to go to find out what was going on in the town. So having a place like this, a website that will handle that little area is terrific. Really good use of resources to me.
Great. Anything else to add? All right, well, you know what to do. You have more than 30 seconds this time to finalize your scoring. So as our judge or our panelists finalize their scoring, I just want to thank our panelists and everybody who's joined us today at this fiscal year 24 Arts Organization Support Advisory Review Panel. This does conclude our panel today. Applicants, you will be notified of the status of their grant following the June commission meeting. So keep your, watch out for that. If you have any questions about the process today or anything else, please contact your regional arts partner for more information. To our panelists, again, thank you for your time. And this concludes our panel today.